the latest exciting drama of 2025 is here, Reacher Season 3. Honestly, I almost forget the first 2 seasons, but who cares? Reacher is based on a novel. Jack Reacher, a West Point graduate and former military investigator, became a lone wolf. Detective after retiring at 36, strong, smart, and unstoppable. That's our hero. Alright, let's jump into EP 1. Jack rolls up in a truck, hauling a box of vinyl records to sell them. Feels like the perfect setup for a secondhand trading app ad, but nope. Instead, chaos arrives. Outside, a guy locks onto an Audi, crashes into it, and throws in a stun grenade, completely, disabling the driver before dragging someone out. Jack sees this, pulls out his revolver, and fires. Some wonder, why use it in 2025? Because it never jammed, unless you're facing batarangs. But no way this guy can take on Jack. A few shots and he's down. Just then, an old white guy rushes out. Jack reacts on instinct and takes him down with a single shot. Turns out the guy was just a kid. Both he and Jack were stunned. Suddenly, sirens blared nearby. Jack, unharmed, drove out of town. Something felt off. Was this a setup? A chase began. Using a crash, he shook off his pursuers, switched cars in a hidden corner, and wiped his ride. "Kid, we go our separate ways," he said, but the terrified boy pleaded, "Please don't leave. I've been kidnapped before. They even cut off my ear. At least take me home. My dad is rich and powerful. He'll reward you," the kid pleaded. Jack agreed. When they arrived, the kid's house turned out to be a luxurious seaside mansion, practically an aristocrat's estate. Security guards stopped them. Jack was already tall, but the guard looked like a giant, like the mountain. He confiscated Jack's weapon and let him in. Security was tight, with even a machine gun in the guardhouse. Inside, staff were eating. The head of security, an old black man, told Jack, "Beck wants to see you. Head upstairs." Beck, the kid's father and the mansion's owner, was supposedly a carpet merchant, yet his room was filled with weapons. He popped open a fine bottle of wine to thank Jack, but Jack didn't drink. They got straight to business. Jack said, "You hired a bunch of idiots," but Beck interrogated him instead. Why was he there today? How did he sense the danger? Clearly, this was an interview. Reek's record seemed clean, yet his skills were impressive. He was only on the run for an accidental killing, and now he had saved Beck's son. Beck understood. Jack understood. Jack grabbed his wine glass and smirked. "Now you have my fingerprints. You can check my background." Jack had clearly infiltrated Beck's security team, like a catfish stirring up a pond, but he didn't care about their suspicions. Oddly, he seemed more concerned about the kid, who was busy drawing in the corner. Later, Beck summoned Jack. Again, this time to a warehouse. With the mountain and the old black man by his side, Beck said, "We've checked your background." The mountain, unimpressed, scoffed at Jack's military past. Jack mocked him right back, but Beck was pleased and wanted to recruit Jack. First, a loyalty test. Russian roulette. Jack, fearless, put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger. Click, safe. Beck was satisfied. But Jack, ever the madman, fired again at himself. Shocking. "Beck, stop!" Beck shouted. Jack turned to the old black man. "I knew it was a blank. That's why I dared." To prove him wrong, the old man fired and shattered an oil can. Jack knelt, watching the oil seep into the ground. A clue, now settled. Into his new life, Jack checked his room for surveillance, then pulled out a hidden phone from his shoe. "Seriously, Beck? You didn't check me for electronics?" Flashback days earlier, Jack was aimlessly wandering the streets when he stopped a punk from stealing. After defusing the situation, he spotted an old acquaintance, Kun. Before he could act, Kun got into a car and left. Jack immediately called the 1 in 10 investigation unit, but as an undercover agent, he couldn't act openly, so he asked his hacker friend to trace the license plate. Before the hacker could report back, the FBI showed up, led by Susan. Turns out the FBI was investigating drug trafficking linked to Beck's carpet business. That same car was flagged in their investigation. Jack's hacker buddy had unknowingly triggered a federal alert. Susan, frustrated by her missing undercover agent, agreed to work with Jack. One wanted to bust a cartel, the other, a traitor. The undercover mission began. Susan went to great lengths to insert Jack, but honestly, it felt more like Jack was leading her into his trap. The FBI orchestrated a staged kidnapping. Agent X dressed as a kidnapper while a fat guy posed as a thug. No one was actually killed. The bullets were blanks. The stun grenade was just for disabling resistance. One casualty, a low-level thug, was deliberately sacrificed to build Jack's cover. The mix of live and blank rounds ensured Beck's men wouldn't suspect a setup. Jack even marked the blank rounds in his revolver, explaining his confidence during Russian roulette. He knew exactly where the real bullet was. His phone, a special device with a 14-day standby time, suggesting the mission could last over 2 weeks. Back to present, Jack called Susan. I may have found the hostage. He noticed the old black man sneaking food out of the mansion and suspected a hidden prisoner in the warehouse. That night, Jack scaled the walls, evading detection, and infiltrated the underground bunker. But he was too late. The captive undercover agent Teresa was already gone. End of episode 1.